Thank you for coming and thank you for logging in from wherever you are. As you know, the theme for these talks is questioning the impossible. So what is impossible? If you asked an American at any point in the last 400 years or so, they might well have said racial equality. That goal seems so far in the distance, it might be a little speck. But history shows us that at times in the past, Americans have made progress towards racial equality. They did so by tapping their abilities and their potential. They did so by joining with others and overcoming opposition. I'm referring to the modern civil rights movement of the 1950s and the 1960s. Ordinary people held mass meetings, marched in the streets, defied the Klan, filled the jails, registered to vote. And at each phase of those activities, music played an absolutely critical role. Martin Luther King Jr. has said, "I have stood in a meeting with hundreds of youngsters and joined in while they sang, 'Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Round.' It is not just a song, it is a resolve." And a few minutes later, I saw those same youngsters refuse to turn around before the onrush of police dogs, refuse to turn around before a pugnacious Bull Connor, the Commissioner of Public Safety in Birmingham, a Bull Connor in command of men armed with power hoses. These songs bind us together, give us courage together, help us march together. So how do these songs work? And what effect do these songs have on the people who sang them? I think if we can answer those questions, we might have the ability to unite today to fight for some of the rights that we all deserve. Now, these songs were drawn from a traditional set of hymns, spirituals, gospel songs like these. Bernice Johnson Reagan has a great example of how these traditional songs were adapted to the current situation of the civil rights movement. Bernice Johnson Reagan was born in Albany, Georgia, and she was a co-founder of the SNCC Freedom Singers. SNCC stands for SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And the SNCC Freedom Singers toured nationally, raising funds for voter registration activities. Afterwards, she co-founded the incredible women's a cappella singing group, Sweet Honey in the Rock. She earned her PhD in history. She wrote books. She did all sorts of amazing things. But back in 1961, she took part in a silent march that twice circled the courthouse in Albany, and then everyone moved into a church that was nearby. Someone asked her to sing, and so she went up to the front of the church, and she started, "Over my head I see," and the traditional words would be, "Trouble in the air." But later, she said, she recalled, "I did not see trouble. I saw freedom. And so I switched the words as I sang, and everyone followed, raising up the song." So here you see the traditional lines and how she changed it with freedom in the air. She changed it on the spur of the moment, creating a new freedom song just like that. Okay? Now, these songs took the form of the congregational style. A song leader would pick a song for the right moment and try with enthusiasm and passion to try and instill the group, the congregation, if this were a church service, instill the group with the spirit to sing. And the songs themselves took the form of call and response. The singer would sing a line and everyone else would respond. That line that the singer sang is called the call. And these song leaders would adapt the songs in order to raise them, in order to grow the songs. And they would change the first line of a verse, or they would change the chorus, and thereby give the group new lyrics to sing. A great example of this is the the traditional song, Lord, Hold My Hand. This comes from a field recording made in Hattiesburg, Mississippi in 1964. I'll play a clip from a field recording. The clip starts with the end of a prayer, and the man who gives the prayer then urges everyone in the group to sing, to join in. And listen too for how different voices offer the second verse or offer the third verse. Okay, so we'll play 3 verses here of Lord, Hold My Hand.
Help us to fight this battle. Give us the courage to continue. Don't let us stop until the victory have been won. In Jesus' name we ask these blessings, and for his sakes. Amen. Oh, Lord.
Everybody. Oh, sing it. Thank you. Everybody get in it.
We don't need that much of the song. Some of the song leaders would take the particular circumstances that they found themselves in and the people that were involved and add those names into the new songs. And
Help us to fight.
And the great example of that is This Little Light of Mine. The recording is from a field recording, 1963 in Selma, Alabama, and the song leader is the amazing Betty Mae Fikes. She starts with the traditional first verse, and then she adds in the second and third verses names of people who opposed the movement. George Wallace, the governor of Alabama, Jim Clark, the sheriff in Selma. She offers the first line in this song, and then the group just takes over the song. She doesn't really sing many words here, but what she does is use her voice in every break in the singing, in between each phrase, at the end of each line. She uses her voice to bridge the singing of the group. And her call, where she starts to give the line for the next verse, she begins her call halfway through the fourth line of the previous verse, so that there is this continuous human voice carrying the song along. And I think it provides an energy, a emotion that I think you can hear and feel in this recording. Well, the song goes on in part because there are so many people who oppose the civil rights movement, she could add name after name into verse after verse. And it turns out a single song could last 20 minutes or more. And the group singing as a whole could last several hours before the group was ready to take on the next order of business. So why did they sing so much? And why did they sing in this style? I think the words of some of the participants themselves give us some of the best answers. So let me return to Martin Luther King Jr. These songs bind us together, give us courage together, help us march together. The songs as organizational glue. Then there's Willie Peacock. You sing to throw off weight, your burden. When you are weighted down, your spirit is low, and your mental capacity is low. But when you sing, you let go of that weight. You rise up, and you feel good about the decisions you have made, and you feel good about the decisions you are about to make. You feel good about the jobs you are going to do, and you feel good about being part of the group that is going to do them. Then there's Willie Peacock, who said, when you sing, you can reach deep down into yourself and communicate some of what you've got to others, and you get them to reach into themselves. You release your soul force, and they release theirs until you can all feel like you are part of one great soul. When you have that kind of unity and that kind of communication, there is nothing the police can do to stop you. Then there's Bernice Johnson Reagan. All of this singing and changing verses and leading the group, she says that's essential for having a movement, for organizing a movement. If you are a song leader, she says, you cannot create a song if you cannot be organized. You have to hear, you have to be willing to lead, you have to be willing to follow, you have to be willing to experiment and move around the basic themes. And then she says when you offer a new line, when the song leader offers some new lyrics, it's like opening a door. It's like offering this possibility. And then what happens? Does the song grow? Does the song rise up? She says the piece continues based on the needs and the power, not of the song leader, but of the people in the room. And what do the people in the room need to do to seize that opportunity, to walk through that door, to grow that song? They need courage. And the person next to them needs courage, and the person next to them. Bernice Johnson Reagan says, singing is an organizing experience because you have to stick out. I promise you that if you cannot sing a congregational song at full power, you cannot fight in any struggle. So, have you put yourself at risk? Have you had to stick out? Maybe it's at Juniata's opening convocation, where we ask you to sing the alma mater. Maybe it's at the Martin Luther King convocation, where we ask you to sing We Shall Overcome. Have you stuck out and sung? Maybe you've put yourself at risk in the classroom when a faculty member asks you a question. Have you raised your hand? Maybe even just to shoulder level? In the end, these freedom songs were not as important as the singing. And singing in tune with the right rhythm was not as important as joining in the singing. So, women and men of Juniata College and out there in cyberspace, that courage that these folks had to bind together, to join themselves together, to shine light on the issues of the day, that's within each of us too. When it came to organize the movement, these ordinary people did not need experts coming in. When it came time to sing, they did not need professional musicians up on some stage in the front of a hall. These regular people, through their courage and determination, did remarkable things. And so can we.